Have you ever wondered what dyslexia means and what impact that has in your life as someone who has dyslexia? Or have you been told many times or been forced many times to engage in tasks like reading and writing, and you just don't seem to get a knack for it? You're just not getting it. You just struggle with it. Well, today we are going to talk about how you can transform that suppose what weakness into your greatest strength, and also even transforming your life and the life of other people in the process by learning from Russell's journey. Today, Russell is going to take us to the journey of breaking the barrier of dyslexia, how you can use this story to transform your life, but not only your life, but the life of other people. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Preferred Mind podcast. It is your host again, Samuel, and here with me is Russell. Today, Russell is going to be talking to us on how you can transform your life through your journey of dyslexia, as well as transform the life of other people. So, if you're here for the first time, or you're around in this with this program and you are looking at us right now and you are one of those people that struggle with dyslexia, well, this is a very, very good opportunity for you to learn about what your situation is and to give you hope to know that no, you are not set apart from society. You just have a special ability, and we are just going to dive into that. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the notification button, and visit our inaugural video to learn about what the Proverbial Mind is all about, as well as share these videos with your friends and family. All right, Roselle, let's get into it. Can you share us a little bit about yourself and your work with dyslexia? What does that word dyslexia mean to you, and how would you define it for somebody who has totally zero idea of what that even means?
Well, the best thing to do when you want to know about dyslexia is you want to go to the science. So I'm holding up a book which is the number one seller in my field, by far the best. It's called Overcoming Dyslexia by Sally Shaywitz from Yale, second edition. She's a medical doctor and she did brain scans. This is dyslexia. So do you see how I'm showing a graph of two brains? Do you see how a graph for the back part of your brain, you have all this massive neuroactivity?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you see how in the back part of my brain there's next to nothing?
Yep.
But the front part of my brain is about two and a half times overactive in compared to yours.
100. Yep.
Okay, that's dyslexia. Now, what we need to understand is what the field generally is trying to do, and they've been doing this for decades. They're trying to increase the neuroactivity in the back part of the dyslexic brain. I thought that was not the wise way of going through because I'm dyslexic myself. I thought, to give an analogy, why not give Michael Jordan a basketball instead of a hockey stick? All right. Because I'm just assuming he's not the greatest skater in the world, but he's arguably the best basketball player who ever played the game. So why don't we focus on the front part of the dyslexic brain? So my initial research program, which was funded by the New York State Senate, is we took a bunch of highly motivated, highly intelligent dyslexic juniors and seniors in high school, and they had an eighth, seventh, eighth grade writing skill, middle school writing skill before we started the program. With our best teacher, Susan Ford at the Averill Park Central School District outside of Albany, one class period a day for the school year, I decided to focus on that articulation followed by word analysis. That's what Yale says the front part of the brain does. And I chose the graduate records exam analytical writing assessment. Why? It's the graduate record exam analytical articulation. Same thing in my book. That was the breakthrough. So one class period a day for the school year. At the end, the students scored average range of entering graduate school students. They had the writing skills of college graduates before they started college. They all went through college, no accommodations, GPAs of 2.5 to 3.6. How did this compare to the best program at the time? I'm going to use Landmark College, which was the best dyslexic college at the time. We were 3x as successful for less than 1% of the cost, under $900 for the New York State taxpayers, for less than 1/25th of the effort. What was the starting point? Then, when I went to present this in New York City, I thought I did something amazing. I thought I changed the world. I was wrong. They asked, how can we use this for normal students, normal dyslexic kids, much younger ones? I said, it won't work. So then I had to go back and totally reconfigure the process so it would work effectively with these students. That was 2006.
Great. So the next thing now that I would like you to take us through is now you have told us what dyslexia is about and how your journey with dyslexia and the foundation of what even got you into making research of this dyslexia was. The first was that you were also dyslexia, and that is going to point to my next question. But one thing I want to bring out is that you pointed to the two pictures of the brain,
Mhm.
and is the fact that in the brain of a dyslexia person, there is not much activity at the back of the brain. Now, one quick question I want to ask is, what is the function of the backside of the brain? What does it do?
I am going to oversimplify neuroscience to the point of straining it. But I would like you to think in this way. The back part of your brain, think K through high school, beginning part of college. Think of the front part of your brain more as graduate school. And if neuroscientists heard me saying that, they would be screaming at me.
Mm,
But from a simplistic way, so we can show how to get around the solution, think of it generally that way. All
that
right.
makes a lot of sense.
And when you're looking at people that are in the field constantly complain why dyslexics don't do well in general education, K through 12. And the reason I'm telling them is the schools aren't trying to be hard on dyslexics. Our brains are polar opposite. They have designed the curriculum that works extremely well for the 80+% of students who aren't dyslexic or ADD or ADHD. Okay. They designed it for the majority and it works. And it has been proven to work if you try hard, like in your education. All you had to do was work really, really hard and you were successful. That was the key ingredient. All right.
Right.
It works great for you, but for people like me, it's a disaster.
Mm. That makes a lot of sense. So what you're saying now is that the backside of the brain is more or less like the less cognitive aspect of the human brain that handles much more complex tasks. Because I remember there was a study I read one time
Mhm.
about, the front side of the brain being much more responsible for cognitive activities and mind taxes, and kind of like the rear more or less of like the I don't know if that's where the limbic brain, I think that's where the limbic system is situated in at the back, which is what deals with your emotional response and the impulses that you act with in life, compared to the front side, that is the frontal lobe, that is mostly responsible for cognitive activities. So that would tell me then that a dyslexia person is much more engaged in meaningful tasks, something that actually challenge their mind to think in a much more creative way that actually engage them, to use their cognitive ability compared to the other stuff that we do that you just have to read a bunch of stuff, cram it, and then pass. There's not really much to it.
As I said, I have been straining things to the point of breaking point. But
Mm,
let me give you an example just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Why I'm saying this is because when I interview top dyslexic professors, the ones that didn't go to a specialized private dyslexic school, they all had the same story. They did horrible K through 12 against their eventual peers, which, by the way, are other full professors. Didn't do well in college, little better their last 2 years, walked into grad school day one, top of their class.
mm,
Okay. So let me explain how I took that idea and the changes that I had to make for my original research study. So to create a model that works well for dyslexic students. And just so you know how well, I'm just coming working on my book. It's called it's called Dyslexia Reading Turnaround. It's a story of Kimberly. I met her last December, December of 2024. Her son Reed, and I have full permission to tell her story. It was December 27th. He just took a test that's a statewide test. She spent $700 for her homeschooling family to be tested by the state. He scored at the beginning third grade level in reading and writing. And um, that was halfway through fifth grade. So it was a year and a half behind. At the end of the school year, she got him to increase 11 times more than the data was suggesting. He was in public school in a special ed program. She solved everything. He was a little bit above grade level reading and writing at the end of the year. Then his friend said, Reed, we want you in school to be with us socially. And if that was January, if he entered, he would have been in special ed. He wouldn't be with his friends. He would have been really unhappy. But now he's in sixth grade and he's doing just fine in all his mainstream classes. Kimberly solved what every parent dreams of solving. So that's what the book's about, her hopes, dreams, aspirations, success, and failures, the house of this journey. And it wasn't like it took her a tremendous amount of time. She worked with him an average of 3 half-hour sessions a week. I worked with her for half an hour a week. That's all it took. So how is this possible? What I had to do is I had to go back to the overactive front part of the brain. And I said, this articulation followed by word analysis is going to work. So I flipped it. Word analysis followed by articulation. All right, and let me give you an example of that. So this will immediately help your audience because a lot of them are dealing with dyslexic kids who are concerned about this, where the kid is writing randomly placed misspelled words. All right, I'm going to show you how to fix that. Do you know any dyslexic elementary school kids at all?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. Uh, the one I use all the time, her name is Sarah. She's in fifth grade. She really loves swimming. She's on the swim team. She took a class to be an assistant swim teacher for the real little kids. She gets the pull every chance she can get. All right. So what we're going to have you do is we're going to have the instructor type out on a laptop, not an iPad, not an iPhone, not handwriting, a laptop. You type out hero plus sign. What are we talking about? And then she's going to copy that. Well, you'd say copying isn't allowed. This is a book from one of my mentors, Writing Strategies for Struggling Writers, Professor James Collins, SUNY Center at Buffalo. 3 default writing strategies: copying, visualization, narrative. So we're using copying. So you type out hero plus sign. What are we talking about? We're going to swap out hero, and then she copies that. We're going to swap out hero for Sarah. Sarah plus sign. What are we talking about? We're going to swap out a list of 10 likes and 10 dislikes. First thing she likes is swimming. So we're going to swap out what are we talking about with swimming. Sarah plus sign swimming. See how we got there?
Hmm.
Okay. Now, the plus sign is the visual default writing strategy. It means we have to add words, subtract a word, or move a word around. So what we have to do now is exchange plus sign for a word to make a complete 3-word sentence. All right. I'm going to tell you that when I do this at major dyslexia conferences, most of the teachers get it wrong. So I'm gonna ask you the most simple questions in the world, and let's see if you can get it right. If you get it right, it works. If you don't, it doesn't work. Do you think I'll be able to fool you?
It depends on your
So,
question.
okay, here's the simplest question. We got Sarah plus sign swimming. Here's my question. Does Sarah like or dislike swimming?
So Sarah plus sign
No,
swimming.
no, nope. Sarah plus sign swimming. We got to
Hmm.
swap out a word for the plus
Hmm.
sign. So it's a real sentence. My question is, does Sarah like or dislike swimming?
So is it in form of like, I'm not really understanding the question.
Okay, so basically, what we have now is you see how we got to Sarah plus sign swimming?
Hmm.
Okay, we need to remove the plus sign and exchange it for a word. Okay, swimming is Sarah's favorite thing in the world. So we
Right.
got it. So my question is, I said it's the simplest. It's a really simple question. Does Sarah like or dislike swimming?
She likes swimming. If you replace the plus sign with the swim and plus is something positive.
Okay, yes. So But that's not what I asked. You did what every educated person pretty much does,
Ah,
virtually all of them. Okay. This is going to give you an epiphany on what dyslexia is really about. When I said you like or dislike, you
mm-hmm,
said you didn't just take like. To make a proper sentence, you added an S to make it a proper sentence
mm-hmm.
because you're educated. Sarah's dyslexic. She doesn't know how to add the S.
Ah,
Okay. Getting Sarah to add the S is like trying to take a kid who has no athletic ability whatsoever and trying to make them a tennis star or a football or a soccer star or a football star. It's just not how our brains are designed. We got
right.
almost nothing going on back here in the back part of the brain. So, in order to overcome this, the everybody in my field was Dr. Ord. He passed away in 1948. He found that he used multi-senses, seeing, touching, hearing, everything, in a
Mm,
structured literacy approach that works. Takes forever. I'm going to show you how to do it really fast now. What we do is we have Sarah like swimming because that's what I asked her. That's what she'd put like.
mm.
I would say, Sarah, read what you wrote out loud. Sarah likes swimming. And I'd say, Sarah, does that sound generally correct? She's going to say no. And I'm going to say, fix it. Sarah likes swimming. Okay. All she did is read it out loud. Does it sound correct? No. Fix it. Sarah likes swimming. So do you see how like and dislike is a very simple form of word analysis?
Yeah,
Okay. Now we're going to go because reason one. After because, do you see that the reasons are a form of articulation?
they are further explaining the situation there by giving a
Right.
reason why.
Right. But it's a form of articulation. So it's
Mm-hmm,
word analysis followed by
mm-hmm,
articulation, which is
mm-hmm.
the front part of the brain.
Right.
Okay. Give me a simple reason why a 10-year-old would like swimming.
It's fun.
It's fun. That's what everybody says. Now, we have Sarah likes swimming because it's fun. Now we have a whole bunch of misspelled words. How do we fix that?
Mm-hmm,
What I do is I tell Sarah before she puts a period down, she can ask any questions. So she might say, did I spell fun correctly? Well, probably not. You would type out fun and she would copy it. But that's not what kids do. They put the period down. So now if there's a major, and I mean major grammatical mistake or a spelling mistake, she's got to retype the entire thing. So she does it. And then she keeps making the same mistake. And she says, I'm not going to make that mistake again. And she keeps doing it for between 3 and 13 times. As she gets around 10 to 13 times, she just concentrates harder and harder until at that point she's concentrating so hard you might see sweat coming down her forehead. And that's
okay.
where the magic happens. That's where eventually she gets it correct. You practice that 20 times, 10 likes, 10 dislikes until it's perfect. Then you add because, reason one, and you practice that 10 times for likes and dislikes until those are all done perfect. And then reason one and reason two, then reason one, reason two, and reason three. What I just showed you will take a student from kindergarten writing level to the end of second, beginning third grade. And here's the change that's completely different from Orton Gillingham. Orton Gillingham, the older the child is, the longer it takes. With my approach, the older the child is, the quicker they will pick it up. Sarah would do that between 2 weeks and 6 weeks, typically. A second grade student might take the entire semester. But that's taking you a multiple grade level increase in writing. It also helps reading tremendously because here's the big secret. If you can write a word, you can read it. So again, if you can write it, you can read it. Now, when I did that, that's word analysis followed by articulation. That's step three of the model. Step one is I can't get these kids to do anything. So you have to focus on their speciality, their area of extreme interest and ability. How do you do that? It's a Saturday morning. You ask them, you can do anything you want. Imagine you could go wherever you want. What do you want to do? That's their speciality. You get an audio book and a printed book that's a couple of grade levels, like one or two more than where they are now, so that they can grow into it. And then we have them listen to the audiobook while following along with their finger. And then we're also trying to answer a question. What does the hero like? What does the hero dislike? What does the hero want to do? That process takes the craziness in the front part of their brain and lowers the volume by about 70%. So that's the first part. The second part is you cannot ask a dyslexic to do this. Like you can't ask a general to a specific question, which is what they do in school all the time. You can't ask us what effect did Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech have on the American Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s. It's like us grabbing fog. We can't get anywhere. But if you ask us a specific to a general question, what personally compelled Martin Luther King to want to give his famous speech, then we can find the answer in his biography, answer it. Another question will present itself. We answer it. We keep going. This is the key point that forces the brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. So again, that forces the brain to organize itself by using writing as the measurable output. Because if you ask a dyslexic, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed in your speciality? Key question, but with little to no organization. Yes. So we have to force the brain to organize itself by using writing as the measurable output. So what's the system? We teach for the intervention period. We teach them in their speciality, specific to the general, word analysis followed by articulation. Once they're at grade level, we can put them back in and they will be okay. But beforehand, why doesn't it work? Because our school system, designed for 80+% of the population, focuses not on the speciality. They want to make us well-rounded. So now the dyslectic's motivation is down by at least 50%, probably pushing 80. And they're certainly teaching general to the specific, what we find really hard. And they're certainly not doing word analysis followed by articulation. So they're essentially doing everything they can to make us fail.
That's fair. So can you take us can you take us through your journey as growing up as a kid, having dyslexia? What was it like to you? What did it feel like? And was there any like social challenge, isolation of battles that you had to go through? And how do you scale those, if there was any?
Oh, it was hell. It was pure unadulterated hell. I was put into special ed in third grade
Mm.
and I couldn't stand it. I was mainstream for a couple of classes, science and math. The rest I'm in there with just it was just a waste of time. Finally, at the end of seventh grade, I couldn't take it anymore. I went to my school board member next door. Him and his son and I got our Eagle Scouts at the same time. And I said, "Get me out of this hell." So he said, "I can do this once." I got outside for history. They said I was going to flunk. I had the highest history mark in my class. But I was going through school with a first grade reading and writing level. I went to college. I finished college with a first grade reading and writing level. I interned for the New York State Assembly, and they pulled me out of the normal internship because I said it wouldn't work. They put me in the program and counsel's office, and because there's three administrative assistants there, I had a much better internship. I gave an oral presentation instead of a paper, but to this day, they recommended 15 credits of A minus. But the political science department at SUNY Center at Buffalo looked at it and said, "We don't like these accommodations, so here's your 15 credits of F." All right. Yeah. And then I said, I'm going to solve this. My professor said, "Well, if you really want to solve it, go to law school." And I audited law school class. My second day in contracts, Professor Warner, dyslexic professor, calls on me. What they do, if you're interested, there's a movie about it called about the Socratic method. It's called The Paper Chase from the 70s. He kept calling on students and destroying them. And the idea is eventually you're going to wise up and you're going to be able to handle it. But they just keep asking you questions when you don't know the answer. That didn't happen to me. This is my speciality. Everything focused, and I started yelling back at him. I mean, I started communicating. We're going back and forth quick. He's getting kind of snarky with me. So I'm getting snarky with him. Finally, I'm leaning forward, yelling at him. He's leaning forward, yelling at me. He's trying to just, put me down and move on to the next victim. And didn't happen. 5 minutes in, we're still going at it. 10 minutes, we're still going at it. 15 minutes, he literally had to call timeout because he had to move on to the next case. He said you couldn't be any more correct. My classmates that graduated, past the bar, been practicing for decades. They said they still can't do that with a professor. That's the advantage of dyslexia. That's that front part of the brain.
So that was your turning point into what you began doing,
Oh,
correct?
everything changed. It was when I came time. This is Dr. Collins's book.
Mhm.
I said, "I'm going to take your work from mild dyslexia to severe dyslexia." How long do you think it took me to get his written approval for my curriculum?
Probably a while.
less than 2 weeks. He put A plus excellent. I didn't have any more time because I was entering a university-wide competition and I got second place for 15,000. Without that money, because I had to go to the school district to
Mm,
prove this multiple years outside the school district before the Senate would even look at it. See, that's the one thing about education reform people don't tend to understand. When you're dealing with Republicans, they're really simple. They love better, faster, cheaper, but they want it in the public schools, tested before they look at it, and they want the public schools to come to them and say, "We want this." That's how they handle it. Democrats are completely different. They want to start off with a big bill and then go downwards.
mm. So, what did this dyslexia teach you about life? What have you learned about life through having this situation?
What it taught me is what I found with dyslexics. It's very similar. Either the people who went through the hell that I went through, either you come out the most motivated person people practically ever meet, or you're shattered as a person. I mean, just shattered. I was the first one, and it just taught me to work really freaking hard.
Mm.
And and then it was work wise, it was heck. And then the artificial intelligence comes around, and the first last December, the ChatGPT came out with a $200 a month pro account. I bought it that day, and I have been more productive since that came out than I could ever imagine. I have done more since 5 Pro came out than I have in 10 years.
So you would say it challenged your creativity, it challenged your outlook of life, and it made you more resilient, much more formidable person, to handle different circumstances in life. Because, I mean, looking at the descriptions of what you said you went through as a kid, those must have built your mental toughness to some level and
Oh,
allowed you the ability to see life from a different perspective.
oh yeah. But when you're talking about creativity, the stuff that I told you, that I walked you through, people
Mhm.
say, well, that's so simple. That makes sense. Well, that took me 20 years to figure out. I
Mm.
still go, if you go and try to tell what I just showed you and say overcoming those basic sentences is that simple to any PhD at a major, at any respectable research university, they'll look at you. What do you mean use the front part of the brain and do word analysis followed by articulation? That's not in the literature. It's not in the literature because as a dyslexic, I present, I
Mm.
evaluate, I work with people. I don't sit in an Ivy Tower trying to do multiple hundreds of kids on one point and take 5 years because I'm working on solving the next ring of things. I find writing at that level to be the most difficult. So I do presentations. So that's why when you're looking at how I'm trying to get the message out, I do a lot of podcasts because this is my natural medium, not the written area. But what I'm finding interesting is when you look at with all this AI stuff coming out, the the visual media, podcast, newscast, getting in front of people is becoming much more preferable, and the amount put on writing has actually decreased quite a bit because now AIs were doing is getting flooded with all this writing. I'm just finding that fascinating.
What would you tell somebody who has dyslexia and is probably challenged by it and is probably going through hell, like you said you went through in your own time too?
What I would say is I just gave you the model.
Mm.
Find something you're truly interested in. A book that's really well written. Start off with the audiobook, like the narrator, because once you have the audio, you can almost always find the printed one, not usually the other way around. And you're going to spend anywhere from 6 months to 3 years working on that. Follow through what I said. Learn from the specific to the general. Use word analysis followed by articulation. You do that properly, you would be amazed at how quickly you can jump up. I use a book as just to show people what it is. I use a book called The Craft of Research from the University of Chicago. It's designed. It was initially designed for PhD students who didn't know how to write their dissertations. Now it's down to advanced high school kids. It's context, problem, solution. I've dropped context to 9 and 10-year olds, problem to 11 to 16-year-old and solution for 17-year-olds. What do I mean by solution? I mean something so advanced. Imagine doing Romeo and Juliet and writing a paper on it that is original at the graduate level every time. So we take those steps I gave you, and I tied it to that book.
Mm.
And so when the student is done, they are ready for intellectual work.
Nice, nice. So that's it. I would have one last question. If you could, if you could speak to your younger self, let's say 20, 30 years back, however far you want to go, you know, if you could speak to your younger self, based on who you are today, what you've learned about life and about dyslexia, what would you tell him?
I would tell them, I would say, watch this episode and save 20 years of your life. Um, I would just say it's about the journey.
Mm,
People are always focused on the destination. Well, once you get there, then
what
what?
next? Yeah.
Right. There's always the what next. It reminds me of the people that went to the moon initially. They got to the moon and they came back. And these are still pretty young guys. I mean, they're going to be working for another couple of decades.
Hmm.
But there's nothing they will ever accomplish that ain't coming anywhere near that.
Right.
So what I try to say is have a goal that you want to work for, but enjoy the journey. All right. Because once you make it, you're just going to start a new one.
Right.
Okay. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the day to day. Like, for example, I just spent till 1 o'clock in the morning working on my book last night. All right. I'm on the third edition. I'm sorry, the third rewrite. But it's a nice day out. The leaves are changing. I'm going to go up to Lake George after this, and I'm going to spend the day there. Okay. It's take some time to smell the grass, to smell the flowers, to smell anything along your journey. Don't just try to get there because then you're just going to start a new one.
Right. That's a great piece of advice because it helps you to actually see the value and the gift in the moment, which would build a grateful heart and a contented heart that would actually even make the journey much more meaningful. Too often, we are always about the destination, but like you said, when you get there, what is next? And then you feel that emptiness and you have that consistent, endless journey of always striving for more conquest, and you only get more empty and empty and empty after it all. So that is a great one, good articulation. All right, guys, that is it on dyslexia. Today we have talked about what dyslexia means and how to break the barrier of dyslexia using the method that Russell taught, which is going from word analysis in order to coordinate your brain and ideas into a way that you can, further cognitively approach things, and then using the word analysis and then synthesizing and further articulating what is it that you're trying to put down. That way it helps your brain to coordinate itself. And then he also talked about using that method, number one. Number two, but also understanding that it is about the journey, not about the destination. It might take you long, it might take you years, it might take you months, whatever it may be, but do not lose the courage and boldness to keep trying and to know that you're not at a disadvantage. You've just been handed a special gift by life to achieve a certain purpose. As you can see, the life of Russell, who was able to use that gift, that ability to transform the life of many other people. And that is just how life works. I believe very strongly that God puts certain situations in our life sometimes because He wants us to help other people who might be going through that same situation, just like Russell did with the kids that he helped with his own condition. If he had not gone through his experience, he would not have the training to be able to develop such a program that would then later transform the life of other people. And those young kids represent generations and will pass down that custom down to multiple other people. As you can see, the ripple effect. So don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your challenge. Don't give up on your dyslexia journey. There is nothing impossible. The only thing that is the most powerful thing is the changed mind. And once you have that change of mind that you can get through this, eventually you will with the help of God. So do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification button down below and share this video with your friends or whoever you may feel or know that is going through dyslexia challenge. And we hope that this is going to bless you and help you and create a way out of whatever situation that you might be right now. And if you want to ever share any testimony or reach out for anything, you can reach out to us at proverbialminds@gmail.com. And if you want the audio aspect, you can listen to us at Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And you can also follow us on Instagram, the same Proverbial Minds. And until the next one, guys, peace out.